Welcome to MCAT Office Hours. It is February 24th, 2026. It is MCAT score release day for those who took the MCAT earlier in January. That's another famous February 24th, 2026, a historical fact. Petros, that today is an MCAT release date.
That is all I got. Wikipedia somehow, right?
Yes, it should make it into Wikipedia. Yeah. Although, whatever the MCAT score release date is for the February 13th date, that will be kind of a historical thing because there's a MCAT score release date in March. Mm-hmm. That is kind of a new thing. Anyway, randomly, enough of the chit chat. My name is Dr. Ryan Gray, founder of Medical School Headquarters and author of the Pre-Med Playbook series and host of the Pre-Med Years podcast. I don't know if I said that already, but I don't think I did. Joining me today, Petros Manassi, VP of Test Prep and Tutoring at MSHQ, 25 plus years of experience in the MCAT and test prep space. How you doing, my friend?
I'm good. How are you?
Living the dream. But as you say, nightmares are dreams too. I love that line. Like, yes, that is true. That is true. I use that all the time now. MCAT score release day for students who are getting their score back and going, what's the next step for them?
Yeah. So one, don't panic. Right. It's easier said than done. Right. Don't panic. And to be fair, there's nothing you can do. The score is the score, right? Like, it's done. It's not like you can go appeal the score, right? File a protest for the score. I mean, there are some things you could do, but bottom line is the score is done. Get yourself in the mindset of, one, do I want to retest? If the answer to that is yes, make a realistic plan as far as when you are going to retest, right? Don't do the knee-jerk reaction of, okay, I'm going to go take it, the next test date that I can find. So I'm going to take it next month or whatever, because I, see a location. So make sure that you have a plan as far as the retest is concerned, realistic timeline, and then start thinking about, okay, what didn't go as well as I wanted it to go? Not as far as the score, but just as far as when you were studying, right? So what could, we all know kind of what we could have worked on. So, all right, I didn't get enough time to work through problems, or I didn't give myself enough time to review these concepts, or I never really felt really comfortable about X, whatever it might be. So, start building out a plan and figure out kind of when you're going to test. Obviously, go and see where there are testing locations and dates available near you, where you're going to, or wherever it is that you're going to be at the time that you want to retest, and then start thinking about, if you're applying this year, kind of how that's going to fit into the other work that you need to be doing, right, for your application, right? All the pieces. Obviously, if you're in school, making sure that it doesn't coincide too much with midterm finals, right? All the things, right? Yeah. So yeah.
Man, it's hard, right? Because it's February and they're like, well, I want to apply by May or early June, and so I need my score back, and so I have to go schedule another test in 2 minutes. When those really important questions of understanding when they're actually ready to apply versus when they want to apply as two different things.
Yeah, I mean, it's making sure that there's a lot of math that needs to be done, right? In terms of, the kind of the calculus as far as figuring out all the moving pieces and what's going to go where, and when you're going to be applying, and when you want to be applying, and when you should be applying, and when you should be retesting, and when you want to be retesting. Really, it's not so much. I'll hopefully say this correctly. What you want might be to retest tomorrow and have your score increased by 10 points. But what you really need is going to be something completely different, right? So it's and what you should be doing, it might be completely different. So
yeah.
So you have to be realistic with it. I will also add, and you and I had this discussion I feel like it was this week, but it's only Tuesday, so it was probably last week. It's not a great idea to just think, okay, I'm going to rush into this, right? You have to make sure that it's the right time to do all these things, but more importantly, building out that plan. I mean, that's really what it comes down to is making sure that the plan is the right plan for you, and you're not falling into that trap of I'm just going to go retest it, because if you're going to go retest, you want to make sure that your score is at minimum staying exactly where you're at, right? You don't want to go retest and the score drop down. So that's the other side of it.
This isn't golf. A lower score is not better.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Like this is the opposite. We want a higher score the next time you take it. So
as the great band Creed often asks, can you take me higher? That is the question. I'm all about lyrics today. I don't know why. I've been quoting lyrics all day long. Yeah. And Creed is one of my favorite bands. At least it was back in the day. I've seen them live 6 times. What's the most you've ever seen a band live?
14 times.
14? Who?
Actually, the Rolling Stones. Yeah, the Rolling Stones. Okay. Not the Who. No.
That was a joke. Like, who?
Yeah, I got it. I got it.
Wait a minute, you tell me. I said who? Yes.
Yeah.
Who's on first? Yeah. Wow, 14. That's incredible.
I think it's 14.
A question from Eric here. I just started studying, but honestly, what scares me the most is if I don't sleep the night before the exam. But then I'd imagine not sleeping before step exams, and that would be much worse. Yeah, I think this comes up for me when talking about sleep and sleep habits and just sleep physiology. The fact that like registering for the test as soon as you can so that you get a location where you can sleep in your own bed.
Mm-hmm.
Because sleeping in a strange environment, right? A lot of people travel and go to a hotel and sleep there the night before. You do not sleep the same.
Nope.
On top of the anxiety of the test screwing up with your sleep. Right? There's theories and data that shows that like your brain will not allow you to go to a deep enough sleep like normal because you are like your caveman brain is like, this is a new cave. I've never been in this cave. Maybe there's a bear that's sleeping around the corner and I didn't check, and the saber-tooth tiger is going to eat me. And it's like when you're staying at a hotel room, like you don't sleep as well as you do at home. Outside of the bed may not be as comfortable, the pillow may not be as comfortable. Yeah, it's crazy.
The lighting is all off, right? Like you don't know, the noise outside is different.
Yep.
Yeah. This is 100% true. You can attest to it. I can attest to it. I mean, we travel for work sometimes. I mean, never sleep well when you're on the road. Is the bottom line. Even if it's a hotel that I've been to before, right? Like that's.
So for Eric here, for everyone else, right? How do you recommend dealing with? I'll call it what it is, right? This is the anxiety of the test.
Yeah.
And it's so funny because students are like, well, I can't believe I was expecting a 515 because that's what I averaged on all my tests, but then I got a 512. I'm like, the anxiety of the real test gets to you.
But so there's a lot to unpack. So I'm going to unpack it in a couple parts. So part one, the anxiety of the test and how to actually leverage the anxiety to your benefit. I think that oftentimes the Olympics just finished up, we saw this happening, right? So you have athletes that are world-class athletes from around the world, and sometimes the anxiety just got to them, right? People that were better than others in other situations, they get to the Olympics, and the anxiety of the Olympics, affects their performance. This is true with the MCAT as well. And then on the flip side, you have students or athletes who, use the anxiety to their advantage and all of a sudden have some breakout performance. And so you want to be on the other side, right? You want to be on the side of use the anxiety to your advantage. Now the question is, how do you use the anxiety to your advantage? And it's complex. One, you have to prepare for the anxiety, meaning you know that it's going to be there, but at the same time, you have to have a plan for, okay, how am I going to get rid of that anxious energy? Where am I going to focus it? I mean, does that mean you're developing some kind of hobby? Does it mean you have some little kind of exercise that you're doing that gets your mind off of things? That's going to be a big part of your preparation as well. People think of MCAT preparation as, I'm going to do content review, I'm going to look at practice questions, and I'm going to do full-length exams. MCAT preparation is much more than that. It's getting your whole physiological self into order, right? Making sure that you're sleeping on time leading up to the exam, getting enough rest as you're preparing for this exam, quite frankly, and also getting yourself onto the correct sleep pattern, right? And the sleep cycle. Last thing you want to do is go to sleep every night at 11:30, let's say, and then the night before the exam go, okay, I got to be up super early tomorrow morning. It's 8:30, it's lights out, and then you're lying in bed, not being able to actually fall asleep, and then you're getting more nervous about not being able to fall asleep, and then you're thinking, okay, if I don't fall asleep, my exam's not going to go well, and I'm not going to get the score that I need, and I'm not going to get into med school, and then your mind is just spinning on all wheels at that point, and it's all of a sudden 12:30, and now you're still not asleep, and then you have to wake up at 5:30 or whatever time it is that you have to get up. So the earlier you can kind of erase that and get used to the fact that that's just going to happen, and really train yourself to get tired by the correct time. And that's really kind of the key with it, right? If you can train yourself to be tired by whatever time it is that you need to fall asleep by. Very, very important. Obviously, I'm not going to get into the things that we hear all the time, but these are things we hear all the time, right? Try to put your screens down a couple hours before you go to sleep. Don't be watching TV. Try to read a book, right? Do something that actually winds you down. I mean, whether if you have a smart watch or whatever that will make the little, my watch at 9:45 makes a little sleepy chime noise, right? It's time to go to sleep. And so, because I've set it for that, even though I usually don't listen to it or pay attention to it, but at least I'm kind of in the mindset of, all right, it's now late enough that I should start winding down my mind, essentially, because your body might be exhausted, but your mind is still going, or vice versa, right? Your mind might be exhausted, your body is still going. So you definitely have to take that into account. Eric, the fact that you're already thinking about the fact that you're going to be scared if you don't sleep the night before the exam makes me go, okay, start getting into your sleep patterns, right? Like start developing a good sleep cycle as it were, as you're going through this process.
Yeah. We'll wait for some more questions to come in. We have a cars stuff to work through. Let's work on that.
Yeah, and I want to be clear, it's not so much a cars question or a cars passage, it's really a cars skill. And I've got a question that is not an MCAT. I mean, it's an MCAT style question. It's not something you would say on the MCAT, but I'll give you an example of kind of what you should be looking at for cars. So we can look through that if you want to put that up on the screen and take it. We can take it from there. So very simply put, talk about opinions. And so when you look at the cars section, there's this kind of notion that's out there that they will ask you questions about, what's the author's opinion? So if you're able to, it's very, very simple. So this is not a major skill, but it's something that I think is oftentimes more overlooked than it should be. You need to follow the opinion trail. So the opinion trail is made up of a couple of different parts. So part one is this notion of adjectives, or what could be described as value words. So things like words like remarkable or flawed or short-sighted or innovative or innovative, if you want to say innovative in an innovative way. That's a really bad joke, but hopefully everybody got where I was coming with that from. Anytime you see these kind of descriptive value words, that's starting to tell the judgment that the author has. So if I say, Ryan is a remarkable person, immediately you know what value I have of Ryan. But if I say Ryan is a flawed person, you already know what value, what judgment, what kind of direction my judgment is going to. It's the former, not the latter. Don't worry. But it's the direction that things are going to ultimately be going in. That's the first part. The second part are, and these you've seen before and we use them, but they actually give us clues. And these are contrast words. So things like however, or yet, or although, or despite, right? Anytime you see that, the opinion that the author is about to give you is more likely than not going to be right after that statement. And this is true in how we speak as well, right? If I say, this is the greatest color of paint I've ever seen, however, that I'm about to tell you how something else, right? Something that is going to be more true. So this is a great color of paint. However, I prefer this other color more, right? And so that my opinion is about to show up. So between the two, if you've got these value words, and what these contrasting words are, which kind of give you these clues as to what's about to happen, you tie that in with this notion that if the author spends a lot of time in the passage really praising something or criticizing it, then it becomes very, very clear what their stance is. The problem with the MCAT is they're never going to make it super clear, right? It'd be easy if they just kept saying, this is the best ever, this is the best ever, this is the best ever. You're like, okay, their opinion is they really like this thing. If they kept saying, this is horrible, this is horrible, this is horrible, then you'd be like, oh, they really don't like this thing. Problem with the MCAT is they'll try to, the passages will try to cloud that. So they'll say things like, the author, or, I really enjoyed watching this movie. However, and you're like, okay, they enjoyed it, but that doesn't mean that they necessarily, their opinion is that it was great. They enjoyed it, but however, I enjoyed this actor's other films more. So their opinion is that the actor was better in other movies than they were in this movie, right? So, as an example in kind of real life, right? I can like 10 different things, but there's one that I like more than the other 9. Therefore, that's the one that that's my opinion is that's the best one. So it's that kind of notion that you have to be on the lookout for, that if they are kind of continually talking about something, then they like it or they don't like it, then it becomes very clear. But it's not going to be that clear because they're going to throw in this other kind of this cloudiness around it. And it's your job to be able to extract what the opinion actually and ultimately is. That being said, you can use some predictive reading techniques as well. So if you see words like however, and I'm sure we've talked about this here in office hours before, but it's a great MCAT skill to have. If you see things like however or yet, that is an immediate kind of trigger to you that there's been a change in direction. So, blah, 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 blah. However, okay, I know that something important is about to come, and I know that it's going to be opposite compared to what was already shared with me in the previous part. So something to kind of be on the lookout for, as it were. So if we look at this little kind of mini paragraph, if you will, that's why I said this is kind of an example, but it's an example to drive home a point. So for decades, standardized testing has been viewed as the most efficient way to measure academic potential. While this system offers clear logistical advantages, it often reduces complex intellectual abilities to a single numerical value. Such simplification may ultimately hinder efforts to identify truly innovative thinkers. So, we look at this kind of, these 3 sentences essentially, and we look for the author's opinion. The other kind of side of this is you can generally sense from a paragraph whether an opinion is positive, negative, or neutral. So, as far as standardized testing is concerned, since the author said, while this system offers, X, these clear logistical advantage, it often reduces the complex intellectual abilities to a single numerical value. So they gave us this contrast, right? So while it does this, it's actually doing this. And then you have this kind of negativity that comes in here where it says that, the simplification hinders the truly innovative thinkers. So all of a sudden now, it's not a positive thing about standardized testing. It's a negative thing about standardized testing. So if you were looking through the answer choices, which are here, and they're asking you, what would the author most likely agree as far as these statements with, right? So which one of these would likely agree with which of these statements? You need to one, be on the same kind of tone level of things. So the first one that says standardized tests are the best evaluation tool, that's completely opposite of the tone that the author was already presenting to us, right? They said that, okay, there's certain problems that aren't actually shown with a standardized testing score. Standardized tests may overlook certain intellectual abilities. That is verbatim from what they said in the passage. That's probably going to be the correct answer. With C, where it says standardized tests are unfair to all students, that is an extreme answer choice. So anytime you see an extremity like that, where it says it's all of the students are getting affected, that's going to be wrong, because it's not opposite. It's extreme. It's trying to generalize the statement to everybody. And then standardized tests should be eliminated entirely. They never said that they should get rid of them. They just said, it's one measure, right? It's not other things, which is true in the med school application process as well. But that's neither here nor there as far as this question goes. So the answer is answer choice B, right? It might overlook certain intellectual abilities, as it were. So what you need to be on the lookout for is what the opinion is that the author is actually stating, and then try to find an answer choice, or when you're going through these questions, that are in line with those opinions. And sometimes the questions will be more complex, where they'll say, which of the following would the author most likely disagree with? And therefore, you still need to know what their opinion is, but therefore, the right answer is going to be the opposite of the opinion, meaning the 3 incorrect answers are going to be close to the opinion, or not have as much of an opposite to it, as it were. So it can get tricky, but at the same time, it's very practicable if you're able to break it down into those three different areas, as it were. So B is the one for this one, but that's how it rolls.
Eric asks, do you have a favorite Cars resource? Maybe a loaded question. We don't have a resource yet.
We don't have a resource. I will say that, with Cars, I will tell you my favorite resource as far as Cars, and this is the best favor that you can do for yourself. So yes, you want to, be doing practice questions, sure. Like no one's stopping you or telling you not to do that. So you should be doing practice questions. But the best resource you can give yourself for Cars is to read. So, and I don't mean little like BuzzFeedy type articles. I mean, like, get something like, the New Yorker, the New York Times, or Atlantic Monthly, right? They all have some kind of free version. Read something that is well written. And the more you can read those passages and practice the art of extracting the purpose that each paragraph was written and the overall opinion and argument that is being made, the better off you're going to be in the long run. Just get yourself into that practice and behavior of reading for extended periods of time, as far as this exam is concerned. So unfortunately, we don't do that nearly as much. And if you're a reader, meaning you read books, right, books that are fiction, fine. But I would still say find articles that are nonfiction to read those, because that's where you're going to be drawing. They're going to be drawing source material from the MCAT from. So the chances of you reading something that you then end up seeing on the MCAT is pretty slim, but the style of writing is going to be very, very similar. So.
Okay. All right. Let's remove that. This is my favorite question, because this is, I think, the downfall for a lot of students when they're retaking the MCAT, being overconfident in their practice test scores. Mm-hmm. So Michael here asks, I previously took the AAMC full lengths 1 through 5 last year, and am preparing for a retake. I've recently taken full length 1 through 3, but I'm not sure how valid the scores are currently. How valid are retakes 1 year apart? Michael, my first question to you is, how good are those scores looking? You're like, whoa, I improved a bunch. Petros, how is someone supposed to use these scores to validate readiness or improvement when potentially the scores might be inflated?
They're going to be honest. I'll always be honest here. There is an inherent bias when you're retaking a test, even if it's been, a year. You somehow have, your mind does retain some information. You'd be surprised, but it does retain information. It might not remember that question 5, the answer is B, but if it's a question that would have required you to work through the question, you might already remember how you worked through it. Especially, let's just be honest. If you used practice tests correctly, and the correct way to use a practice exam is to take the practice exam, obviously see the score that you got, and then go through and figure out what you got right, what you got wrong. And most students will go through the ones they got wrong and spend a lot of time reviewing them. Then you've spent extra time with that problem already, and then you go and take the test again a year later. Chances are you're going to start remembering some things that come through. So it gets a little bit tricky as far as the score is concerned. Obviously the practice is great, right? Like that's there's nothing bad about that, to get that extra practice in, but it can get a little bit tricky. If it's been more than a year, then sometimes it becomes a little bit more valid because you're further and further away from it. But if you just studied for the MCAT, then it can be a little bit harder to say.
Yeah.
I guess my answer to your question is, I'm not sure. No. So yeah, my answer to your question is, I can't be sure how valid your scores are currently because, I'm not in your mind is what it is. So I wish I could say they're 100% valid and your score is improving, right? Like I can't.
Yeah. It'd be interesting to figure out a way to take the results of their previous full-length exam, including all of the answers and answer choices, load that up, compare it with their retake of that full-length exam, and compare question to question, and go, okay, all of the ones that you got wrong, or all of the ones that you got right last time, you still got them right.
You're still right, yeah.
All of the ones you got wrong, 50% of them you got right. So maybe and do some fuzzy math to estimate. Yeah. That might be an interesting test to see, because I think ultimately that's the way to compare is question by question and go, okay, question 1, I got it right last time. I got it right again. Awesome. Question 2, I got it wrong. Ooh, I got it right this time. Did I remember it? I don't know. So
why did I get it right? Yeah.
Why did I get it right? And do that, and just go question by question, because I think so many students remember the questions more than they think. What do you think about free resources for the MCAT? We love free resources for the MCAT. That's what this show is. It's a free resource for the MCAT. Yeah, all about it. Benita, do you have specific free resources that you have in mind? Let us know. Eric likes the dad jokes. Keep them coming. Looking over on Instagram, I don't see any questions coming across there. YouTubers ask us questions as well. Can you guys speak to the timing of the sections of the MCAT? I have heard that CARS is the most dense in terms of time.
No, it's what, 6 questions fewer than the other section.
And it's 5, there's no pseudo discrete.
Yeah, there are no it's all passage based questions.
There's no discretes,
there's no discrete standalone, same thing.
Yeah, so all passage based. This is the other way to say that. So one would theoretically go, oh, it's more dense, therefore it's harder, but there's less questions.
Yeah, it's the same. The same proportionality as far as number of questions to time. It relatively works out the same. You don't have the standalones. There's You may let me put it this way: you may have heard the cars is most dense in terms of time, but it's not. Like,
yeah. Okay. So don't buy into that.
There's a lot of rumors out there, right?
That's what we should be called, MCAT Mythbusters. The AAMC will come after us for copyright infringement, and Mythbusters will come after us for copyright infringement.
I just did the math. You actually have more time per question on the car section than you do in the science sections. So there. You have 1.69 minutes per question in the cars versus 1.61 minutes. Yeah. So.
How is the best way to review your test if there's not much change from one to the next? I'm assuming you mean from like full length 1 to full length 2, not full length 1 to full length 1, like we were just talking about. Yeah, I mean, to me, Petros, the change from test 1 to test 2 doesn't matter. You're reviewing the test.
You're reviewing the test. Yeah.
Top to bottom, inside and out. And figuring out. I think that this question stems, I think, from the problem that students have with reviewing is they're only going off of the score, going, oh, I got a 514 my first test, I got a 514 this test, I didn't improve. Like, no, question by question, did you improve on the subjects that you were struggling on last time? And maybe this time it was like how the questions were asked tricked you up. Were they different question types or subjects? Like, there's so much more than just looking at the score.
You can't just look at the score. That's the bottom line. Is if you just look at the score, then you're hurting yourself, because you might let's look at an example. You might score a 127 on full length 1 on the bio section, and you might score 127 on full length 2 on the bio section. That doesn't necessarily mean you got the same things wrong on the second test as you did on the first test, and vice versa. You have to go through the questions. You have to see where the improvements actually happened. And then you have to ask yourself, all right, why did I see a dip over here and an increase over here? Well, I saw an increase over there because that's what I was spending more time reviewing. And I saw a dip over here because I didn't get to spend as much time reviewing it. So then it's a question. No, but then it's a question of making sure that you are maintaining one and improving the others. What you don't want happening is you improve one area, but at the sacrifice of another area, right? And then you end up back in square one of where you were. So the best way to review a test is go through question by question, write down why you missed something or what you missed, why you missed it, and figure out what it is that you need to do to get it right the next time, right? So ask yourself the question, if I see this exact same question again, what did I not know this time that I need to know the next time this comes in front of me? I didn't know a formula. I didn't know, this concept was true, whatever it might be. So,
yeah. And so basically what you're saying is going from test to test is like this dude spinning plates. And it's like, okay, on the last test, I did this one right. So let me keep that one going. Okay, and then I'm going to forget about that one, and I'm going to go study something else, and I'm going to go spin some more plates. You got to keep making sure you go back and take care of the earlier plates, or else you're going to fall and break. Awesome. There you go. Don't let your plates fall and break.
That's right.
Keep spinning them. Are the AAMC full-length passages outdated? Oh, interesting question. I feel like the other practice exams out there feel way different than the AAMC practice exams. I'd probably say they're all outdated, right? Nobody's out there updating their tests all the time. And the third-party tests are different because they're not the AAMC test writers.
The one that is outdated from the AAMC it's called the sample test. It has no score. Unfortunately, there's a lot of folks out there that have come up with tables of conversion tables, and this is what you would get on the MCAT if you got. So don't use that one. That one actually came out before the current version of the MCAT was even released. So definitely don't don't use that one. As far as them being outdated, they are previously released questions from the MCAT, and the order in which they are released is pretty much, how old they are. So the lower the number, the older it is. They just put a new one out. That one's not outdated. That one's brand spanking new. So like, you should definitely be looking at that one from that perspective. But I will say, having looked at all of these many, many times, the AAMC exams are still very, very representative of what the actual MCAT will ultimately look like at the end of the day. So that's the
I mean, to me, it feels like they would be doing themselves a disservice if their full-length exams weren't accurate to their actual test. And potentially, because we live in such a litigious society, potentially opens them up to lawsuits saying, hey, like, you misrepresented what the MCAT was with your full-length exams. The third-party test companies have no like like a legal stance to go use our full-length exams. They're exactly like the real MCAT, because they're not. So
they will make claims that they've done thousands of hours of validation studies and yada yada yada, right? Which, I mean, yes, there is some work that happens to validate an exam, but it's all correlation and somebody making it, very marketable. So I used to work at one of them. I can tell you
that. What is the best way to know that I'm actually prepared to take the car section of the MCAT? Why just the car section? You can't just take the car section alone. The car section, Petros, is the scariest section for students because there's no foundational knowledge that someone can go in and go, okay, I've memorized all the amino acids, I'm ready. It's just read and comprehend and analyze. How do you give confidence to a student that like they're ready for that?
It's about knowing the different skills that are tested on the car section. So the reasoning beyond the text, reasoning within the text, the opinions that we talked about, right? The overall arguments. The way you know you're actually prepared for the car section is by knowing, this is going to sound real weird, but it's about knowing how to play the game, right? About knowing how to take the test. That's how you know that you're ready for the car section. Versus the other sections, it's about, that you're ready if you know how to play the game, how to take the test, and the sciences, and you know how to apply the sciences. So there's like the extra part of the other one that comes into play with that. So the way you know you're ready for the cars is that you can go through a cars question and be able to explain it back to somebody else, right? Show them why something is right.
See one, do one, teach.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. All right. Keep those questions coming. There's I'll throw. I wasn't going to throw it up here, but I'll throw it up here. What is the closest full-length test third-party resources to the AAMC material? It's an impossible question to answer. We won't. All right. Nothing over on the Instagram. For students who get their score back, and are like, okay, I think I might need a tutor. When is the tutor discussion kind of a trigger for you to go, yeah, like a tutor here is what you need?
Yeah. I think it's if you kind of, and this is usually the case, you've given it your best shot, right? You studied, and this is what I got. And you now have, if you have the question of what else should I be doing, then you kind of know that it's time to be working with somebody. So that's if you had a plan, this is the opposite, but if you had a plan and you know full well that you didn't execute the plan, then the answer is simple: go execute your plan. But also, maybe you need an accountability person, right? A person that's only going to hold you accountable so that you execute your plan, right? And maybe that's just, that's what you need. So that's when
it sounds silly, but when I was a personal trainer, many of my clients were very capable of being in the gym and working out, and they were very fit. They paid me to train them for the accountability because they knew when they were tired at the end of the day that, oh shoot, I'm going to show up to the gym because Ryan's there waiting and I've already paid him, and so I'm going to go to the gym even though I really don't want to.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm going to go to the gym 5 days this week because I've got my meeting with Ryan on the 6th day, and I don't want to look stupid in front of him, right? Like that's,
some of that too. Yeah. Whether that's a tutor, which is obviously a great way to do that, or my favorite free resource for MCAT prep, and that accountability is a group. Go find a group of other people that are taking the test around when you are, and form a little study group. Orlando, if someone does their MCAT at the end of April, do they have enough time to apply for the application cycle? Definitely. Yep, no problem. So, Petros, it takes a month to get the score back for whatever stupid reason. So end of April, they'll get their score back end of May. The applications for the AAMC for AMCAS, you can't submit your applications till the end of May anyway. So you get your score back and you submit the application. The challenge, Petros, comes from you get your score back and you go, uh-oh, I didn't do as well as I need to. That kind of starts to hurt the application timing because let's say they get their score back end of May. Now you're looking at like June to restudy, get back in the groove of things, maybe some of July. So you're looking like end of July, August to take the MCAT, and you're not getting your score back until much later. That is what really hurts an application, I think.
And potentially having sacrifice working on your personal statement and all, right, and the application itself because you signed for that. So,
yeah. It goes back to the plate spinner. It's like one of those plates is applications, one of those plates is MCAT prep. Yep. All right, friends. Looks like we've answered all of the questions. Oh, there's one more here. Khan Academy. Resources there outdated. I know there was a big kerfuffle that Khan Academy was gonna shut down their AAMC resources, but the AAMC kind of stepped in and helped out there.
I mean, they are outdated in the sense that they have not been updated, right? Like, to be clear, whether or not they were going to, there was a question of whether they were going to shut them down as far as making them available, but they are available.
Yep.
But what also hasn't changed is it's not like organic chemistry has gotten an update in the last 100 years, right? It's not like, so like from that perspective, they are still covering the material that is tested on the MCAT. So.
Yeah, I think that's the follow-up question to that then, Petros, is there's this assumption that the AAMC is changing and updating the test every single year, the actual MCAT, and therefore I need the newest, greatest test. I need the newest, greatest resources. I need the newest, greatest books. Everything has to be new and shiny. And part of that is just our American obsession with new and shiny. We have to have the new phones every single year, and I'm one of them. Trust me. But at some point, it's like, no, we don't need new stuff, as you mentioned, right? Organic chemistry hasn't really changed.
No.
Although I don't know if you saw, there was a new image of a cell that came out. Let me see if. Let's see. Is this real? Hold on. It might not be real.
It's an AI image.
Darn it. Yeah, it's one of those things that I saw and I'm like, I didn't fact check it in the moment, and now I'm talking about it. And I'm like, oh wait, I should talk about it. No, it's false. Never mind. Ignore me. Darn
Fake
it.
news.
But it looks so pretty. It looks so pretty. And it came out in 2022. And then I just saw it recently. It came out in 2022. Ignore me. I'm an idiot. I should have fact checked it.
You want my opinion? It may look pretty. However, right, it is not.
Yeah. Well, that's like I'm a huge space nerd, and like all of the images from the James Webb telescope, like they look really pretty, but that's all human just interpretation and adding fun image, fun colors to those. It's not really those colors. So yeah.
They're assuming.
Yeah. Benita says they feel like Khan Academy is too easy. So
you're talking about the videos, or you're talking about the questions?
Apparently the questions.
Yeah. Okay.
888. If I took the MCAT twice and the score dropped the second time, don't do that. 10 points lower than practice tests. Again, how valid were those practice tests? Do you recommend retaking, or is it too risky? Ooh.
So you've taken it twice. You've dropped the second time compared to the first time. And on top of that, your real score was 10 points lower than your practice exams. So if you're going to retake it, I would highly recommend getting a thorough evaluation about how you studied and how you were being evaluated the first two times, because something needs to shift. If you're going to take it a third time, if you decide to take it a third time, something needs to shift. So,
yeah, and I don't know what the answer is, right? Because I think it really depends. Did someone go from like a 513 to or a 515 to a 513? Like, yeah, it's not great that your score dropped, but both of those scores are above average for matriculation. If you went from a 505 to a 503, right? I'm like, neither of those scores are great. And so maybe we should talk about retaking. So I think there's a little bit more nuance in whether or not a third test is kind of recommended. And like, nobody wants to take the MCAT 3 times. Yeah. So I feel that pain. Oh, man. 888. Go schedule a consult with Petros, or maybe do a deep dive. Talk about the MCAT deep dive, Petros.
Yeah, what is that? It's kind of what it's kind of what you just described, right? It's not what you described. The question asks, like, when you have these weird situations and you need to figure out kind of what to do next and what the plan is. We can do an MCAT deep dive where we go through. Usually, I go through like the most recent full-length exam that you have and do an analysis in terms of strengths and weaknesses and what you should be studying first and what you should be studying second, but also figuring out what the right timeline is and figuring out when it is that you should actually be testing and kind of really mapping out the bigger picture as far as your preparation. And then if you want to then supplement that with actual one-on-one tutoring, then you can work with one of our tutors. So as you're going through the plan, but it's I think the easiest way to describe it is it's MCAT advising, right? Figuring out, having a deep dive conversation about what you should be doing regarding your MCAT prep and building out a plan.
Yeah. All right, friends. Never mind. I want to answer this one. If I'm using the AAMC materials to prep, why is everyone saying to leave them until I get close to the test day?
There is a, one of those myths out there, right? That you want to keep them till the end so that you can get the most realistic practice because it's from the actual test maker as close to the exam as possible. It's actually not bad because if you think about your MCAT preparation as getting yourself closer and closer to the real world condition, the AAMC exams being from the test maker are as real as it's going to get without it being the actual MCAT. So that's why you hear that a lot from people saying that. So I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing to do it that way, but Also, don't do the thing where you leave them till the end, but then never get to them, and then you don't, you never experience having taken a full length from the AAMC. So,
yeah. All right, friends. MCAT office hours. We are here almost every single Tuesday at 4 p.m. Eastern, answering your MCAT questions. And Wednesdays at 1 p.m. Eastern, I'm with one of our expert advisors, admissions advisors, former directors of admissions at medical schools or admissions officers at medical schools, answering your admissions and pre-med questions outside of the MCAT. So come and hang out and subscribe to the channel, and make sure you hit that little notification button so every time we go live, you are aware. Thank you for hanging out with us, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.